Gonna be Swiss guest who's gonna be coming on today. So you know what? Let's get started, guys.
Let's do this.
Welcome to the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.
There we go. We're on live. Let's get it done. How you doing, brother? How's your morning going so far?
Good, man. Kind of overslept this morning. I woke up at 4:00 this morning with a pad, a pad of paper and a pen, started writing down these ideas, and I was like, "Oh man, one of those nights." Not that I'm complaining. I never complain, but I mean, it's cool when you just wake up out of a deep sleep, and you're like,
Yeah.
and it's like, holy, and you just start writing this, and it's just like, where the hell did this come from? It happens to me quite often, but last night was like, it wasn't like, waking up. I mean, it was just like, you ever fall off a curb in the middle of your sleep and go, oh, like,
Yep.
I mean, that's exactly what I did. And this thing just went, boom. And I was like, okay.
Yes.
So,
That's amazing to see because I even my internal clock woke me up at like 5 o'clock this morning, and I was like, you know what, I can fight for that extra hour of sleep, or I can just get up and just be productive and get my day started, right? So being able to get up this morning, go for a workout, get everything ready with my dogs, and we're getting 8 inches of snow today in Toronto. So everybody who's on the East Coast, please drive safe. I know it's gonna be some ice rain and pellets
yeah.
and all that fun stuff, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
I feel like that's why Dan's skipping out today. He's getting ready to go snowmobiling, right? So
Yeah, that's the truth. I mean, now we know why.
exactly. So we'll have to rib him a little bit on that, but you know,
We're going to have
we've
to have
had,
a side conversation with that young man.
yeah, we're 10 days away from Christmas, so we're definitely getting ready, prepared for that. I know you were kind of mentioned that you're basically waiting for all the what is it, the drivers, the elves to bring all your
Oh, yeah, yeah,
packages.
yeah.
Tell us about that.
All my Amazon friends, banging on the door and taking pictures of the packages and loading up my email.
Yeah, loading up your email. It's funny because like I've had to put like a note on the packages. I mean the orders to say don't ring the doorbell or my dogs will go
Yeah.
crazy. And always funny. My wife works Monday to Thursday, so she'll always like shoot a text like midday, like, "Hey, can you go get that package? Like go pick it up
It's
outside."
here.
Yeah, it's here. She knows before I do. And I think we need to invest in one of those what is it? Those alarms where it has the video. Do you got one of those?
No, oh no, I don't. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep, you ring it, and then all of a sudden the camera goes on. It takes a picture of whoever rang it or whatever, and it's just like, do I want to answer this door or not? You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, so as we're kind of waiting for our guest to come on today, just kind of want to get a little bit of feedback. We've been 2 days since the our amazing show. Any feedback from like Greg? I know that Power Hour was amazing. I watched it a couple times yesterday. Let's hear some feedback.
Yeah. Yeah. First and foremost, Greg apologizes because he didn't know he was live when his speaker and other things weren't working, and he was like, oh man, But that's what live is all about, right? Real, uncut, honest, and so you just go with it, But otherwise, it was great, I'll tell you what, my followers have increased. I started getting these DMs. I mean, it's just chaotic. I mean, it's just like, yeah, I'm glad people are reaching out, man, because that's why we do these kind of things, to help other people be successful, and just drive a lot of things home. We have so much stuff that's coming up in the new year, Ryan. I mean, you saw 3 things that I put out there. It's going to captivate a lot of freaking people out there. I mean, subjects that a lot of people don't talk about. And, we need to address it because there's so many different questions about that. But that's a different story. That's next year. So many good things that are going to happen on the HPLS podcast. I'm definitely looking forward to the new year. How about you, man? What did you think?
Yeah, you know what? I thought I was watching it back and I was like, wow, we really went for like 7.5 hours, right? And
I
then
know.
and like it obviously took a physical toll and everything like that, but it was It was amazing. Like I was literally in front of my TV, just like writing notes, like on my lunch break, just kind of like,
I
okay,
know.
these are things to do. And you kind of mentioned too that you're going to be working with India, which is amazing to see what's kind of going on. And just so we don't get for the get started with next year, we still have the amazing best-selling author, probably one of the best prospecting coaches out there, Jeb Blunt, is going to be
Yes,
coming on
yes.
next week, and I think that's going to be my personal favorite for a lot of people. Fanatical prospecting, probably if you ever want to kind of like up your prospecting game, read that book or listen to that audiobook. I'm like I said, I'm not a book person, and that book I've read a couple times, right? So Jeb Blunt has tons of credibility, and I think we're really fortunate to have him
Yeah.
on the show next week, right? So
Yep.
as we kind of get in, I kind of want to get your thoughts, Jeff. Like you've since we had Rico on the show, you got like your coin, you had your book and things like that. Did you get a chance to like go through the book yet, or are you
No,
kind
just
of never?
briefly. Just briefly. I'm going to chisel out some time to read it. I just got so many different things that are going on, Ryan. I'm thankful. I'm grateful for the opportunities that have come my way, and I'm working them to death. As you know, I don't make too many prospect calls, but my clients open up doors for me, and then they
Yeah,
give me other businesses and other lanes and RFPs, so forth and so on. And it looks like it's coming to fruition. So I'm going to have a busy first quarter next year, and it's just going to have it's going to be a snowball effect. I'm looking forward to it.
no pun
I've worked,
intended.
you know how it is when you work really hard for it and things come to fruition, man.
And it's the
It's
best feeling
like,
in the world.
wow, man, it's just unbelievable. So,
Yeah, like for me, I had a really good day yesterday. Yesterday I saw a random TikTok when I was doing my scrolling, and it was like this guy like telling you how to do like a vision board, like basically put the 10 things that you really want to accomplish next year. And I was like, okay, no, I'm gonna start today, like
yeah, right.
being yesterday. So like I created my vision board and I just looked at it and I sent it to my wife, and she was like, wow, like it's just certain things that maybe I'll share with you off air and things like that. But
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
2023, it's let's not wait for it. Let's get started now. We've got 10 days till Christmas. Jeff, you're kind of mentioning, and I do want to get into this topic today. You mentioned that, hey, like your customers are helping you basically open
Yep.
the doors. Basically, it's referrals, right?
Yep.
Um, I wanna because I this is something that I want to get better at. What is a referral? What does it look like? How do you attain one? Let's go referrals 101 today.
Well, yeah, and it's pretty simple. It really is. The hardest thing is that when you're not doing your job and you ask for one, you don't want to do that, right? There's always it's timing, and you've heard you're only as good as the last shipment that you ship, right? You could have a billion data boys, and you have that one that goes astray, and next thing you know, you've got the phone calls, they're upset, and so forth and so on. So you're trying to be on top of that constantly all the time, and that's what you're trying to work towards is that referral. Hey, I know somebody. Yeah, Ryan's done a great job. Don't be afraid to ask. If you're good at what you do, what would prevent you from asking your current client? Because the shippers, the receivers, right, your consignees, that they're doing business with, because you're moving it from A and you're moving it to B, and B is their customer, right? So you want to be on time. You want to be able to service them just as good as your shipper that you're doing current business with. So after a while, I mean, not immediately, you look into that customer. You see whether or not they're congruent with you and what you do. Just because they're receiving the shipments that you're shipping from your customer doesn't mean that they have the products and everything that you want to deal with
Yep.
and move it. So you need to go and dig into that. Once you do that, you feel comfortable with your customer, just go out and saying, hey, listen, I don't want to back solicit and do all this kind of stuff without your permission, but would it be okay if I reached out to customer B and spoke to them, and would you mind me using you as a reference?
Mhm.
I haven't had any complaints. We really haven't had those serious conversations that told me otherwise, that I wasn't servicing you the way that you wanted me to. Oh, no, go ahead. Yeah, tell them to call me personally. And it just like opens up and opens up. And always reinvent what you're doing. I always do that, because I like to take care of my carriers as well. So you may have several different carriers that are all over the place servicing your customer that you have.
Mhm.
Look at it, try to consolidate it, and see if you can give one of those carriers and maybe 2 out of 10 more of those lanes, because you're building those relationships, and also you're building the relationship with your customer to get those referrals by consolidating and saying, look, I'm looking to reduce your costs. I'm looking for control. I'm looking to minimize your risk, so forth and so on. And that's all part of it, So don't take it every day as, oh, it's just another day in life of Jeff. We're not going to change anything up. Always reinvent yourself. Always do something better for your customer. That's what opens up the door, Ryan. It really does.
And I like that you said that because you're making them aware because you're
Right.
able to use them as a reference right away. You don't want to you bring up the discussion to them rather than them finding out from their receiver or anything like that, right? And Jeff, one thing that I've done before is that I like social selling a lot, so I'll connect with my all my customers on LinkedIn and things like that, and I will literally say, I see, hey, you're connected to customer AB. Do you know them that well? Like, what's the relationship like? And if they do, I'll ask, hey, would you mind making an intro for me? And then
Right.
they'll always kind of say yes, right? Because referrals. I read a post today where this one for Brickle that's on LinkedIn, and he said, "Look, I just do referral business. It's just people know my capabilities. My customers will sell better for me than anybody else." And I think as we had Nicole Glenn on the show on Tuesday,
Right.
she was saying like, don't go after the low hanging fruit. Like, she has a shipper, somebody who was a shipper leading her sales team right now. They know that conversation just like you, right? You've
Yep.
had that conversation
Exactly.
being at Schneider, started working with Ford, work with Panasonic.
Yep.
You know how to talk to a shipping manager because you were
Absolutely.
in those seats, right? So I think when it comes to referrals, first do your job, make sure you're crushing it out of the water, and
Number
you're
one,
going
guys.
in. Yeah, exactly. Jeff, have you ever got to a situation where okay, customer A, you're killing it for them, you got a referral for customer B, and then you start working with customer B, and then you ask for a referral for customer C?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was saying. If you look at a spider, right, you get the main body, and they have many different legs, right, that are going out. Each one of those legs is a lead to another opportunity, as I see it. So you get in there, and then you start working it. I mean, there's nothing better, Ryan, really, than servicing a customer, knocking it out of the park, and then asking them for a referral. And then you start the same steps and process for their customer. And then their customer also has manufacturers and vendors and suppliers, whatever you want to call them, that feed their needs. And then you back it up again. You back it up again and again and again and again. Now, it's a double-edged sword, and let me explain that. When you are working with a customer and you really think that you're doing a great job because you didn't have any emails or any of those serious conversations, and you ask them, hey, do you mind if I win? And they go, no. Right? Why did they say no? That's the greatest opportunity for you to ask them the whys. What have I done? What haven't I done? How can I do things better? So when I say that double-edged sword, it actually helps you to even solidify the ongoing business even more, because now you're aware of the things. You need to communicate with me more. You need to do this more. I don't get into those situations, but I know people that have. But that's why, when you do business with your customer, you're not just following up with your customer and letting them know that the shipper delivered, but you also want to follow up with the consignee and saying, hey, I'm so and so from from XYZ company. I'm just checking in. I understand you got a delivery the other day by blah blah blah. How did it go? Did you see any issues? Did you have anything like that, man? That is volumes, my friend. That is taking it up another step, because now you can go back to your customer and say, hey, I talked to your vendor, and your partner or whatever, and just want to let you know that they're completely satisfied with the service that we've been giving them, and I just want to relay that to you. It's all that communication and building that business relationship. So don't always pay attention to the shipper. take it
No.
one more step and go to their consignees, and have discussions with them. That opens up other doors as well.
And I think, like, for me, I don't know about everybody else's experience, but when I kind of got started in the industry, my boss at the time, he said that, like, call the shippers and receivers, make sure that just to open up those windows, and, you're able to self-reflect, because anybody could say that, hey, I'm amazing at what I do, but what your customer says about you speaks volumes, right? And, with you, like, talking about, like, the spider's web and things like that, always been in the mindset that I don't need like 50 customers. I don't
No,
need
neither
30
do I.
customers, maybe 10, 15, me personally. And I like, when I started a new job, my second job, I told my boss this on the first day. I'm not trying to get a whale. I'm not trying to get a customer that gives me 10,000 GP. I'm trying to get 30 customers that give me $1,000 GP a month. And then kind of build it from there. One or two may fall off, so maybe I'm at 28 or 27,
Always.
but I'll be able to refine, right? And see who's my niche and kind of go from there and kind of go fishing when you're kind of starting. But with referrals, you develop. We always talk about relationships, right?
Yep.
And I feel like when you ask your customer for a referral, that kind of strengthens your, as you were saying, it strengthens your relationship, because
That's
at the end of the day, somebody told me this. I forgot who it was. I think it was Drew or something like that on a conversation, saying that he plays like F1 racing, like video games, with all of his shipping managers, and they've introduced him to like different people, and you've got that, right? You've got that opening there where people more than just a shipping manager. People for themselves as a person. Jeff, when, like you said, what if they said no, right? And then you're asking why, and then you kind of get to the bottom of that, and then you fix that, and then you go back to the referral. How often are you asking for referrals?
not a whole heck of a lot. To get back to what you said earlier, it's like if one or two customers fall off, I've always had, well, one of my bosses who actually works for me now, said to me a long time ago, Jeff, it's a lot cheaper to keep a client on board than finding a replacement. And it's so
Mhm.
true. It's so true that we had a term that we used and always said, clients for life. That's the main objective. You want to have a client for life and be able to service them. Now, other things that we used to do as well is we used to send out survey
Right.
cards like every quarter or every couple of months that basically said, hey, how are we doing?
Mhm.
Please get back to us. This is our email. We do this to make sure that we're meeting or exceeding your
I love that.
needs as we discussed in the beginning of the contract negotiations and what we promised. Are we delivering on those promises? And it's great. It's just a little postcard or something like that. Not the traditional email, which everybody goes and blast on email. Do something out of the box and send
So
like
you'll actually send a card to them,
a little card. Yep, a little postcard. And
and how would they get that back to you? Would they just mail it back, or would they just use it? Like
yeah,
how would?
yeah, and we did Survey Monkey.
Yes, I was just gonna say Survey
And
Monkey. I love Survey
we
Monkey.
did
Yeah.
a Survey Monkey, and what we had at the company I was working with when I was account executive, the postcard had dollar signs all over it, and in the middle was like a boom. If I remember correctly, I'm going back several years. And then on the back of it, it pretty much said everything that I was stating. And then they go to Survey Monkey, and then we would get that, and it says, enter your company's name, do this or whatever. Is our account executive doing exactly what we promised we were going to do? What can he improve on?
Mm,
What is he failing on? It's all good. You want to know that. I mean, that's
of
what we're in the
course, yeah.
business for. You want to know where you need to improve on. It's all part of that, and it does work. It definitely does work. And you know what? That's really funny that you said you're talking about Drew Pearson,
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. About the
and
video game.
he does F1. I got to talk. I got to talk to him because my distant cousin used to drive F1s, and he won the championships and stuff like that. Canadian Jacques Villeneuve.
Shop
And
conduct university
yeah,
as a
yep. So
kid.
I'm
So
gonna have the
yeah,
conversation with
yeah,
I
you guys
mean,
gonna have an offline
me and
conversation
you for
about
a
that
long time.
then. Jeff, I got a question for you too. So, and I'm just like spitballing, so we can go back and forth here to
Yeah.
get your thoughts. So, customer gives you, you're doing amazing for your customer. They give you a referral. Is there anything you do for your that existing customer, like let's say an incentive or something that you do for them once you kind of get that referral and it's brought X amount of business or something like that? Like, what do you do for that customer who gave you the referral?
Um, no, I don't. You know what what I do is that it's all in part of the beginning, right?
Okay.
In the contract negotiations, if you sign an NDA, you get 3 months of their off-season, peak season data. I'm a data guy. I love data, and I try to remove the emotions out of that because I want to look at real information. I'll sign that NDA and I'll see where they are. I'll go to in the most simplistic way, Ryan, I'll go to all my carriers and everything. And I only have one round. I mean, you could talk to all the carriers that I've ever done business with. I don't believe in round 2, round 3. I think it's a complete waste of time because when you go out to them, you say, I've always said this, listen, here it is. We've got $10 million on the line here. I want you to put your best foot forward and come back to me with the best rates that you can do it. You know your business better than I do and what you can and cannot do. And I'm serious when I say this. I say there won't be a round 2.
Yeah.
So here you go. So they all go and they put it back, right? So I write, back to them, and I have a nice little letter for them. And I said, you have been rewarded X lanes or whatever, and then you
You're
have
doing your own internal RFP essentially when you're doing your.
right. And then I write the reward letters, and then sorry, maybe next time, and they get back to you, and you go, oh, well, why didn't you tell me that you needed to be at 2,500? I could have done that. That pisses me off. Because if you know your business as a carrier better than I do, and I ask you to put your best foot forward, and you say $2,600, and then you come back to me and you say, I could have done better. My question to you is, why didn't you put your best foot forward coming out of the gate? If you could have massaged your rate when you sent it to me, you could have done it in the beginning. I don't fire carriers. Carriers fire themselves.
Yeah. And just to
That's
get
why
away
I have
from like, yeah, and just to
yeah,
kind of get away from the carrier aspect of it too, but because when it comes to customers that referral, but the part that I have for you is that have you ever had a carrier giving you a referral?
Have I ever? Yes, as a matter of fact, just to open up a door. I bought a carrier and we became very very good friends. He was a Jersey carrier. I've been in the business for like 50 years, and we just hit it off. Used to give him a lot of work, and then he said, "Hey, why don't you look into this one? This might help you out or whatever." And then vice versa. If a carrier does great for me,
That's what I love.
my reputation's on the line.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you go and tell even a competitor or a friend, hey, I'm using so and so, man, used to do the guys like knocking them out of the park. That puts a huge feather in your cap. A
Yeah.
huge feather in your cap.
And that's what I
So
love
go
about it because I love to sell like
protect
on
them,
that.
you know?
I love to sell on
That's
that
what
because I will say, like, when I'm talking to a new prospect and we're running dedicated lanes for another customer and that carrier can handle that capacity, I will say, hey, John, we'll visit you at 2 p.m. on Tuesday. He'll bring you coffee. This is who we bring. Same guy every single week. Get to know them, right? Instead of kind of knowing different drivers and different things like that. Because I always kind of feel I read a post too, and it's kind of going a little bit off topic, but I do want to get back
all
to
right.
like we're in terms of referrals. But you know, when you manage your relationships, it's easier. It's easier to have those conversations, whether it be shipping conversations or carrier conversations. So as you kind of said, it's always nice that you can work with a carrier and then you're able to be like, hey, be my biggest referral for me. Right. Or like, because I've had conversations where a carrier calls me and is like, hey, Ryan, appreciate everything you're doing for us. I was taking a drive. One of my colleagues, he dropped off at this location. Maybe you want to take a look into that. And it's not about backsoliciting at all. It's about just honestly having those opportunities and your relationship with your carriers. Because I love what you said yesterday and you brought it up today. Is like carriers don't fire themselves. I mean, no, sorry, you don't fire carriers. They fire themselves, right? So
That's it. And you know something? Let me ask you this. Have you had carriers like knock on your door and say, hey, can I take you out to lunch?
Yes, tons of times. Tons of times, yeah.
Tons of times. You know what? Here's how you really build a relationship. Instead of having them say, "Hey, I'll take you out to lunch," how about go out to your rep and say, "Hey, man, come on, let's get together. I'll buy. Let's go."
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you got to take care of the I keep on saying this, yeah, people disrespect the carriers. I know we're just a little bit off base here, but you know, change it up a little bit, guys. Reward the carrier. They're rewarding you and knocking out of the park, and they're delivering on their promises, right? Everybody has a promise. You have a promise to your customer.
Yep.
The carrier has a promise to you that they're going to deliver on your expected, um, results that you're looking for. So if they do it, surprise them. Come on, Bob, let's go out, man. Let's have
Let's go
a
have some
couple
fun.
cocktails or something like that.
Have a
It's
couple money.
volumes, but do it from your heart. Just don't
Yeah,
do
yeah,
it.
don't do it. Well,
Do it from
everything
your
looks
heart.
better. Like, it's a lot better when you do it
That's
from
how
your
I
heart.
build a lot of business relationships with a lot of the carrier reps over the years since I've been doing this. So
That's awesome. And it actually brought a thought to me because I know that hey, we can get a referral from a carrier. Have you ever given your customer a referral?
um, it really depends. I have to think about this. It all comes down to what you mean. I know what you mean by referral, but for instance, when I did consulting work and I was working with this one company, it was the oldest rubber manufacturer in the country um, since 1896. Actually, still friends with him after 30 years. He had problems with shipping out of Mexico, and he did rubber boots, and they were melting in the carriers. So I came up with a really good idea, and I said, I want to introduce you to somebody. We're going to redesign your packaging to release the heat so they won't melt and stuff like. I mean, if you think about a referral like that,
Yes. Yeah.
on the consulting side, bringing that, and then another feather in your cap, and you knock it out, and you do something out of the ordinary. Like I said, I try to do things more than just moving freight. It's much more than that, and that's what I look for, those hidden bank opportunities. So if you're thinking about something like that, always think about something else that you can bring into the mix and provide that to your customer.
Yeah, and I think that's where you become like an actual solution provider, without wanting anything. Because when you do for other people, like it'll come back to you tenfold. And the reason why I've asked you that is because I've had situations. One of my favorite stories from Dan, I wish he was on this morning, was that he mentioned that one of his students, their customer, they stopped shipping, and their customer, he called his customer, and the customer said, "Hey, we're just out of pallets." So what that rep did was he took that whole week or a couple of days to basically find pallets for that customer, and then his shipments went up like this because he's been a resource to his customer, right? So
That's it.
it's, you just never know, because like so many times, like, hey, let's say you're doing a couple loads a week, it starts to slow down and you're like, oh my god, I did something wrong. But it's like, have the conversation with your customer beforehand. Are you gonna have some slow seasons? Is anything that you're seeing coming up that's gonna kind of either bring loads down or kind of go up? Because how often do we, like, I know I don't do it anymore, but when I kind of first got started, it was like, hey, if a customer's shipping good with me, they like me, why aren't they giving me more loads? And then you get to the root of the problem. And I know you're a full transparent person. Just call them up, call them
That's
up
it.
and figure out what their
Oh,
challenges are.
I tell them that. I mean, I've had those conversations recently, and to get back to what you were saying, um, I and people are like, well, why don't you do that? I would gobble that up. You were talking about how many customers that you need in order to feel comfortable with what you're doing, right? You said, if I had 30 customers, not 100 or whatever. Well, I feel the same way. I don't
Yeah.
need. I'm not a transactional broker. I'll say that first and foremost. I'm not the bottom feeder. I'm not just going to pick up one here, one there, whatever. That's not my niche. I don't like that. I like huge volumes because that's all I've done throughout my whole career. I mean, monstrous freaking shipments all over. Because I have the processes and the mechanisms that, whether it's small or large, if you implement them, they'll roll just the same way as if it's one or three shipments, if it's 100.
Yeah.
So the thing is that's what I do. So yes, I agree with you, Ryan, on that. I don't need 150 clients. I don't
No,
want
no,
anything like that, man.
it's too. You know what? Here's the way that Dan always kind of brings this up. You know, like where would you be if you never lost a customer? And you know, I have customers that I've been working with
Not
literally
here.
since I started. Since I come exactly, yeah, we do different. But I've got customers I've been working from the beginning, but they're like one shipment every 3 months or something like that. But I enjoy the relationship. You know, it's just that's how it is, right? And you know, it's a small business, and you understand. But you know,
I have
I
one
really
like
truly
that, Ryan. I have one like that, and it was the first customer that I ever
I
did
got my first
business
customer
with.
too. Yeah.
And I said, you know what? And I've had those come to Jesus meetings with them. You know, it's just like that, but it's just I'm just doing it just to help them out. You
Yeah.
know that they mean something to me because they're my first customer, my first bill, everything. I've had them for 4 years. You know, that's the only one I have, to be perfectly honest with you. They're the onesie twosies, something like that. But I don't
Yeah.
have any of those others. I don't.
Yeah, I do, just because I love the conversations that I have with them. They're people like me. They're like-minded, right? So, like, you know, the first customer I ever had, they did balsamic vinaigrette. So we still have them, and we still, it's
I
not my niche,
swear
but
to God,
I love them.
you're gonna die laughing on this.
What's up?
That's my first customer.
Get out of here.
I bring in 30 TEUs every single year from Spain, balsamic vinegar, and you know it's a very good friend of mine. I actually went to school with her husband. Her husband died, and she didn't know what to do. So we had a conversation. She's been handling it with me, and I go beyond the Call of Duty for her. I go like that for every customer. But when you know you have that personal relationship, and I got the plaque right here, man. Balsamic vinegar, man. That's
That
hilarious.
is so
That's
funny. That
that's unbelievable.
what is it? What is it with us getting balsamic vinaigrette
I
customers,
don't
man?
know,
That's
man.
amazing.
I'm
But
done. That's it.
yeah, okay, exactly. That's it, man. Well, you're like next thing you're gonna say your next customer was like juggling toys or something like that. Because my second customer was juggling
Oh,
toys, and they're amazing. But you know what? Like we said, we don't need that X amount of customers.
no.
From and you know what, you got to understand where your goals are, kind of what you kind of want to do as well, because you know you've got 30 customers, you're juggling these different things, and it works for some people. Like you know, if you have like a huge team that you go into a company that you have like 10 or 15 people that can do that for you, all power to you, you know, and just
Yeah.
gonna take that up there. But coming back to like referrals, like you know, like we said, you know, you get that, like imagine like that balsamic vinaigrette customer, you ask that them for a referral in Spain or something like that, then you're doing international shipments, and then different things kind of come up too. So I think as we're kind of getting ready to wrap up today, it's like referrals is kind of like the cheat code, and people need to be using it a little bit more, right? And
Yeah.
use for referrals, like not just like in your professional life, because even for myself, like if I see a new book or I see something that like I'm interested in buying, like let's say you had a product, like you have your car, right? I would if I'm looking to buy a car, I would ask you for your opinion on your car if I'm looking to buy that same vehicle too, because you want to get that know-how. I know
Oh,
Google reviews, they do paint a picture sometimes, but they're not too accurate. So why wouldn't you go to somebody that you know, especially within your inner circle, to know what, hey, what's the real deal on this?
right. Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree on that. Yeah.
And let's bring up like Damon's thing here, because like Damon deals with agents. So good morning, Damon.
Yeah.
See you, brother. But even for new agents, even if a customer only has one shipment, you never know what they're capable of or in the future. And in transportation, people move around, and you never know where that person will end up. Always value all your customers equally, and that's so true. You know, where I've been telling people this, that get ready for the hey, I've started a new job posts on LinkedIn, because everyone's looking to start somewhere else for like Jan 2nd, if they're not happy where they are, or even if they are happy with more, like different kind of reasons for going to different places. So you just never know,
No,
for
no.
where.
And one more thing, because this is all relevant. You know, we're talking
Yeah,
about
yeah, of
referrals,
course.
everything. You know that comes down to endorsements and recommendations, right? They're all the same thing. And I just had this conversation on LinkedIn yesterday. No need to name any names, but the person says, you know, hey, I'll endorse you if you endorse me. If you recommend me, I'll recommend you. Guys, let me tell you something on there. The best type of referral and recommendation that you can get is either from a coworker, an ex-boss, a company that you worked for. directly who gives you those endorsements, those recommendations, because there are companies out there. I'm not on the market that look at your profile, and they look at those things. Who were they been recommended by? Who were they endorsed by? And let me tell you something. If you're just doing that to rack them up, if there's a serious company out there that's looking for a candidate like you, and they happen to dive deep, I dive deep all the time because I like that knowledge. They happen to look up that person and reach out to him and saying, "Hey, I'm looking at Mr. Jones. I see you endorsed him. Can you give me a little bit?" That puts them then into a position because they never worked with you or anything. They just pretty much, gave you an endorsement or a recommendation and don't even really know you because you're
I
trying
don't
to
think
rack
people.
them
I
up.
don't. I don't think like HR recruiters really do that in full
They
transparency.
do. They do.
Like to like especially with the recruiters out there. I don't think. I don't think it's that serious in terms of like what they kind of do. I think it's like I've been lucky that every job that I've had in logistics, it was based on a referral. So meaning that somebody went there, and then they just referred me to come over there. So they're basing it on that. They're not looking at resumes like like I just you and I we get like everybody every salesperson out there, they get tons of messages on LinkedIn from
Oh,
recruiters wanting from like that. And I always kind of tell them, hey, I love where I'm at. This is like I'm not going anywhere. I'm truly not going anywhere. But it's
yeah.
nice to know that people are actually checking profiles, right? Because like even for
Yeah.
yourself, I haven't checked your profile in a while, but for me, where I'm at right now, I've been there for almost 3.5 years. So that means there's credibility there. It's not that I've jumped ship from place to place to place, but just kind of bring it back to kind of referrals. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, I've used referral letters for my customers,
Yeah.
saying that, hey, I'm looking for this. I'm trying to get this door open. I've been trying, and I don't know, Jeff, give me your thoughts on this. I like to, when I'm prospecting, I like to try kind of like on my own a little bit, see if I can get in there on my own merit, kind of like open up
Oh,
the
of
door a little
course.
bit. And then, hey, if it's not working, maybe I'm on my like 12th or 13th touch and nothing's kind of happening, then maybe I'll kind of like go for like some reinforcements and see which way I can get the door open. Because it's one thing to get the door open, but you got to keep that bad boy open. Like somebody could just unlock it, but you got to keep that door open and make sure you close it. And then you're able to keep
Oh,
that
yeah.
opening from there. So just kind of want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah. The thing is do your homework, guys, before you go and look to try to open up that door. Just don't call somebody from the seat of your pants and not know who that person is or their company. I've said it a billion times. You know it, Ryan. You have to do your homework. You have to figure out what your niche is, where your value is, and shrink that. You don't need to make 100 freaking calls every single day. Narrow that down, man. Get it into a fine-tuned tunnel with an
And
objective and
and find
goal.
what works for you, right? Because like I said this, I was telling our inner circle yesterday that, like I convert on 80% of video because I do video, and I convert on 70% of my emails. And if I was to send you an email, Jeff, and I was prospecting your email,
Right.
my emails are 50 words or less. I'm not saying, hey, I'm this person at this company, this is what we do, blah, 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 blah. I'm literally 4 sentences and that's it. I'm trying to just kind of get that engagement. So know what your niche is, and kind of I know we kind of go back to that, but
Yeah.
referrals is important to a
Oh, it
salesperson
is.
or even an operation. You know what too? Like maybe we'll talk this on another time, but
Yeah.
operations people, man, like talk to your ops team because they might even have referrals too. Maybe companies that they worked at previously that they know, and they can get that conversation kind of going with you as well. So have conversations about referrals. It's so important.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. It definitely will benefit you as long as you're doing a good job with your current client. If you're not, don't ask for one. That's for sure. You know.
100%. So we'll end on that one today. Dan didn't upload the ending video again, so we're gonna have to go a little bit of cold turkey this morning. But Jeff, always a pleasure, man. Always ad
Yeah.
hoc.
Same here.
We're just having so much fun talking
Yeah.
about referrals, and we're looking forward to seeing everybody tomorrow for wins and lessons. We'll be
Yep.
hitting the replay at 12 p.m. and 3 p.m. on LinkedIn, Facebook. What is it? YouTube and Twitter. There we go.
All
The
right.
four,
Yeah.
the four
There
ones
you
of
go.
those. So yeah, Jeff, always a pleasure, brother. See you
Same
again.
here, man. Everybody have a great day.
Take care.